Okay, lesson learned. Turn off the ringer on my phone. Let's try this again. It is now 3 o'clock on the 22nd, and I'm trying to do the forecast. We are looking at, they really haven't changed our long-term forecast, and I'm really not thinking this is right. So we're not going to focus on that. They are saying we are going to pick up. We should be picking up by this time in the day, and it should run till early evening hours and then dissipate. I think we're going to stay at least a KP3 right on through tomorrow. I do not look for this to drop. If it does drop into a 2 range, it will be for a very brief time. There's just been too much activity out there, moving at too many. We have too many fast storms catching up with little storms for it to be, I think, something that's going to drop away. And then by tomorrow morning, it's going to be on a steady rise until early evening hours. They're saying it's going to drop away. I'm saying it's not going to drop away. We've got too many CMEs incoming that have likely headed our way. Now, jumping over to see what Space Weather is saying for their forecast. They are saying 22nd, we're going to hit a 3, a 4. We're going to stay till the early mornings at a 3 or 4. Tomorrow night, before midnight, we're going to jump to a KB5. We're going to stay in that midnight-ish range, 11 o'clock. Probably from the 3 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night, we're going to be at a KP5. Then it's going to start dropping down. I don't look for that to happen. We've had several CMEs this afternoon. We've had several different things happening. I do look for there to be enough there that boosts that wind. I don't think we're going to drop off as much as they think we will. We are at this point almost at a KP3. So we have not had, and we're going to go down here. We are having the phi angle flip. Our density and our wind speeds are all over the place. This means all these little pockets and little tiny CMEs are probably hitting us, spiking up that density, spiking up that wind speed temporarily. Looking at our magnometers, they have kind of been flatlined. Okay? They have not really gone too much of anywhere. So the impact has not hit yet. I don't agree with the West now right now. They have got us very low. They adjusted this downwards. They are giving us a spike in the early afternoon hours tomorrow. At the same time, or just about right after that spike hits, the winds are going to start. Looks like they may have adjusted those winds up just a little bit, but those are really slow at around 350 kilometers per second or less. I'm saying, no. I think it's going to be a little bit hotter than that. So, what do I see? So, I am going to look at Glasgow 3. And what we're going to do is I'm going to come up here. We're going to look at a view of the sun. So, this is where we are. Center line disk. This is the outgoing 90-degree angle. So, that satellite sits right over here. In the middle of that 90 at a 45, closer, maybe a little over a 45, but about a 45-degree angle. So whatever is on that right side, coming out on the right side of this Glasgow, is going to be coming at us, okay? So let's look at that. Well, let's look at that again. So, as you can see, this is going out on the 19th. This is what's going to be hitting us tonight and into tomorrow. And you can see there's a doggone near constant diet of material coming out at us. And it's relatively good wind speeds here. So I look for that to continue to move and blow outwards. Yes, a lot of this stuff was moving. A lot of the CMEs are moving down and away or out on the outgoing limb, but there's still enough solid winds moving out toward us that I think it will hit us. Now let's look at LASCO 3. Now this is what is coming at us. And you can see, if you can see stuff moving all the way around the disc, then that is going to hit us. It's not big, but you can see there's stuff moving all the way around the disc. There's CME, CME, CME. It's all moving around the disc and it's starting to fill in. We've got a nice, steady wind. And it's kicking out these massive CMEs. Here at the end. See, look at this. This has just happened this morning. So this will probably hit somewhere into the 24th, into the 25th. So this may hit later. This will probably hit tomorrow night. Look at this. You can watch it come out. Oh. If I can get it there. You've got a solid blast there. That is a halo hit. What I would say a halo hit. Yeah, the CME itself did not make a halo, but it boosted the wind of the things that were there, and there is enough moving around the disc that it is going to be a direct hit. So, our sunspot regions. We have 46 and 30, 34, 46. And another one over here moving in behind it. We have one back here, couple back here that they don't have an eye on yet. So let's scroll down. 34, 33 may still be kicking out something, but it's out of reach. 34, 35 is now in that earth-facing quiet moment. Don't freak out that it dropped to a beta class storm and is kind of losing a little bit of size. It is reorganizing. It is actually putting on another additional couple sunspots. We watched it grow a tail overnight. So now it's a tadpole. It's not a single big sunspot. It's a tadpole of sunspots. And we've got a couple spots forming down here. So it's reorganizing and becoming bigger. As it clicks into the active range, I think it will redevelop into a more intensely electrified system. What I am seeing, also I want you to pay attention to, is these were really close together. Like this one was right here. They spread apart. 38 got much bigger and added the number of umbras within the sunspots. It added individual sunspots so that there was like 11. Now it's down to 9. But there was a large grouping additional sunspots created there. And it's gone in and out of wrapping and unwrapping the magneticism. And every time it unwraps the magneticism, it grows bigger and adds umbra and actual spots. And then it'll wrap in on itself again. And those magnetic polarities will wrap around each other. So this is in a reorganization phase. But this is starting to grow together again It's filling in the empty space with more material. And this patch that was back here has moved forward and is starting to integrate more into this big spot. This is now back up to a 70% chance it will erupt, and it is kicking out M-class flares. This is where your M-class flares came from. 3437 won't hit us unless it erupts sideways. Now, if the eruption takes place and pushes sideways, it could tickle us. 38 is down to 9 sunspots, but it's holding its size and it's starting to grow. This is filling in. It is clicking out C-class flare today. 3439 is down here. It is losing its size, but it is adding the number of spots. This is 3440. It is holding steady, but it has lost its energy. It's lost its power plug. Don't look for it to stay that way, but it is right now lost its power plug. 3441 is now in the active region, but it is now reorganizing, and I don't know why they have such a bad picture of this. Maybe they're taking a picture lower because there's something developing down underneath it. There is 2 more spots developing. It is still beta class, so it still can produce a flare. We still do have the magnetic polarities wrapping in on each other. It has lost some of its size. If it's gaining sunspots and it's in this active region, give it a day. It'll probably reorganize itself about the same time 35 and 38 hit the gas and start getting electrified again. 3242, it's been doing this on, off pattern. So yesterday it was off, rapidly intensified last night, turned on for a little while, got really big. Now it's losing some of its sunspots. It's holding its size, but it's lost the power that was generating it because 35 has calmed down. So 34 is calmed, or 42 is calmed down. Do you see the pattern here? When 35 calmed down, all the other ones calmed down around it. So 35 is our battery. 43, which is sitting out kitty-cornered above 3441, it is on the outgoing limb. It still could tickle us. It is still a beta class, still very tightly wrapped, interwoven polarities. This one can erupt, and I look for it to erupt, and it has produced a C-class flare today. 3444 is right here, and this is reforming. This is growing tighter together. It's down to official sunspots, but this spot is developing and it's growing and pulling together right here. It's reclassifying. Like I said, when 35 took a break, all the sunspots around it are taking a break. So when 35 and 38 pick back up again, everything else is going to pick back up and go crazy. So since 5 o'clock yesterday, we've had an M-class flare here with a CME, a C-class right there. Well, the C-class, we've had a number of C-class flares right through here that were tied to this M-class. See, that's an M-class with a whole lot of C-class flares, and then it falls away right here with a big CME. That will be hitting us tomorrow night into the following night. We have long duration CMEs. This means there was multiple pops in there that kept that elevated, or it's just continuing to blow out energy. It's one CME, but it's continuing to just blast energy out. We have a C-class flare here, C-class flare here, C-class flare here. Long duration. When we have a long duration flare, that means there's CMEs accompanying it. Long duration flare here, that probably is kicking out some activity. Some C-class flares in here. Then we have a 1.4 M-class flare and a 1. If I can find the peak here. Let me go down just a minute. Hang on. And then we have an M flat at a 1.5 down here. So it is a very long duration CME. So this one did accompany flaring, and it did come from 34, 35, and 38. That means it was Earth facing, and it will hit Earth. That means it will come in probably Sunday night. You want to look for that. Detecting the latest CMEs. Let's walk back to early on the 20th, because that is, okay, we've got the 19th coming in tonight, 20th and 21st. We've got the 20th, late 19th, early 20th is going to be hitting us tonight. Late 20th and 21st is going to be hitting us tomorrow night. And then late 21st and 22nd will be hitting us Sunday night. So let's take a look at this halo hit here. It is outgoing. This is the one that I said it's 180 push. So we've got winds getting pushed as far out as 180. It might not be a direct hit, but it's going to push whatever's out there, even if it is turned away from us. Okay, we pretty much looked at a lot of these in the prior forecast, so I'm going to skip looking at everything. I'm going to skip up here. Let's see. I was up at 2 o'clock in the morning. 11. Let's start at 11 UTC. We have winds coming out. There is a steady diet of wind moving around. That's going to keep us elevated probably to at least a KP3. I look for it to stay around a KP3. Here is a large halo eruption. It is coming from 34, 35 or 34, 41. Probably where it's at right now, it's coming from 34, 35. This is super dense. This is more than 180 degrees. They're saying this is a 90, less than a 90. But look here, we've got more than 180 degrees moving around the globe, around the halo. So just because it's the sun, the blast itself is just moving, that's the blast eruption field itself. It doesn't mean it's not pushing all the other wind that's out there. You know, when you blow through a straw, you have the core jet of wind, but then it tends to push all the wind around it too. And that's what's happening. We've got full halo around there. So that is moving at 600 kilometers per second. What was moving before it was 1,800 kilometers per second. We got a slow one right here. Taking off, going on our outgoing limb. This one, I look for it to be, we got something here moving this way. I look for that to be a miss. This one, depending on which sunspot it took off of, whether it came out of, what is it, 34th, the sunspot here, or whether it came out of 35. I think it came from down here. this could be a miss, but we still have stuff moving all the way around. So it's not going to be a total miss. Now, this came from 35 and 38. This is going to be something that comes more at us than it looks like. It's not going to be traveling as down, it comes down and towards us. We have something coming out this way. This is on the outgoing limb. I do think this will be a miss unless it came from 3441 and it is just moving out, shot sideways, and it's kind of maybe nick us. It depends on what that came from. If it came from around 3630 or 3436, it's going to miss us. If it came from 3441 that was close to Earth center disk and it shot sideways, then yes, it may give us a tickle. Does that make sense? You're taking a 3D model and trying to flatten it and say, oh yeah, that's moving that way or this way, and it doesn't work that way. Okay, this is definitely from 35. This is more of a vertical, so it may not necessarily spread horizontal, so it may miss us, but it may have a horizontal component to it. We can't tell from a 2D picture if it's got horizontal, if it's a round shape or a flat shape moving vertically. We don't know. What I can tell you is it doesn't have too much wind moving here, but there's a massive amount of wind trailing down this way. So I kind of think that we will get grazed by this one. Now another solid hit. You can see this is moving this way. This is going to come out and toward us, and this one is going to hit us. That one's going to be a little bit of a miss. Going to be a little bit of a miss, but it's going to push wind. This one, it's hard to tell what's going on there. That is blurred so badly because they're trying to, I guess, do an extended picture of it, I guess. I don't know what they're doing there. It's really hard to tell. But if you'll notice, that's the only slow moving eruption out of this whole thing. Everything else has been 500 or above. So here's what that tells me. These eruptions are super dense, plasma-filled eruptions. These are deeply dense, so it could peak up better than what we had a couple days ago. These are moving on average faster than what was moving a couple days ago. Because if you remember right, they were only moving between 2 and 500 kilometers per second at max. Hard pressed to get a 6 to an 8 back at the 17th and 18th. So these on average are having a faster wind speed because they have more energy. This is followed by this eruption. It is moving up and away. It probably was a filament eruption of that looping filament that was between 40 and 35. There, remember there, I pointed it out, there was a looping filament there, a magnetic field line. That is probably what erupted. And look at this. This is massively dense. There is a lot of material here. We have something kicking off here. All the way around the disk, you're seeing things moving. To some degree, this will give us something. It won't be a direct hit, but it's going to give us something because we have things moving all the way around the disk. Now, This one is from 3441. Almost guarantee it. Either that or 43. 41 or 43, kick this one out. It's moving down, out, and towards us. Again, look at the density to this. We have a real dense shock bow, dense here, and a second shock bow to it. So look for this one to go up, down, up, down. It's going to have multiple peaks to it. So it's going to have multiple onsets into this. And if you look all the way around the disc, we have winds moving, and you can tell that they're moving at a fairly good clip. So this was 1,000 kilometers. This is 589 kilometers. Let's look what's right behind it. Now we have 35. We had 41 or 43 kickoff. Now 35 is kicking off. It's moving at twice the speed. It's going to be a partial hit. We have a little over a 180 wind field here where plasma is moving faster. That is going to catch up with and push, because this is moving faster than the one before it. That is going to create a scoop shovel. Look at the shock bow and the density to this. This is massive. A lot of plasma kicked out of that. So you're going to get multiple peaks and pushes in there if it doesn't hit during the daylight hours. This has a potential of hitting in daylight. Little kick off to the side. Little kick off to the side. And if you'll notice, that continues to blast out. It is not shutting off. It's going to continue to spit that stuff right out, and just, it's got a lot of wind. You know, when you take a big breath and you continue to push that air out, that's what that's doing. There is a slow mover. Okay, here we go. So it went from basically 600 kilometers per hour, double that to nearly 1,200 kilometers per hour, back to 5, up to 8. Now we got a really slow mover that isn't going to matter much. And now we have a 1,500 kilometer blast going up and away. Now that one may miss us, but you can see here it's spiking that wind, and we have another eruption down here that's spiking something here. So we have basically a full halo out of this one as well. That one is at the early morning hours. This may hit late afternoon. Big, dense. Look, we have a shock bow, internal shock bow. This is going to have multiple onsets, multiple times that the auroras will ebb. So it'll be really bright for a minute, and then it'll ebb back, and it'll get really bright for a minute, and it'll ebb back. Again, we have material moving all the way around the disc. Don't just look at this and say, oh, it missed us, because it's coming from this region here and moving out, down, and away as it spreads. So this is going to be a hit, and it is got halo to it. We've got something moving down and away. We still have good solid winds this way. Another hit over here. That's probably going to be more of a miss than a hit. Another little spike this way, probably more of a miss than a hit, and that's where we're at. So, what should you expect? A lot of this may hit during the daytime hours. Expect that to spike up in the daytime, and some of it may catch us at night, some of it may not. Tonight, I look for most of Michigan to be partly clear. for a while. I have not spoken with NOAA, but they were telling me going toward the UP is going to be more cloudy. Tonight we are at a 75% humidity, which is really good. That's getting better than when we've been at. Tomorrow night we are down even less humidity at a 73% humidity. So that is good. That's wonderful. That's what we want to see. You're going to have to hunt and peck through clouds. From what NOAA has said, I want to double check one thing here, just real quick. Okay, they are saying Mackinac is going to be partly clear, and they have called off the fog. So you may be safe to go to Mackinac, you may not. Know that Mackinac fogs. We're at the point that the air is getting colder than the land and the water, and it's a recipe for fogging. Last night was really foggy in Traverse City. So if you get a time where that air gets cold enough at night and it starts to fog, Mackinac is going to be the first place to fog. So you may not really want to be there. There are some other places to go in Sleeping Bear National Park. Please utilize Good Harbor, Platte River Mouth, and Esh Beach Road. At the end of Esh Beach Road, there's a beach you can walk into. If you're an able-bodied person, it is the best place to go because you won't get any car lights to hit you. So if you are a serious photographer, Esh Beach Road is your best bet. If you want pictures with no light pollution and you don't want to battle with car lights, go to Esh Beach Road in Sleeping Bear National Park, or Good Harbor up off, I forget what road it is, but up at Good Harbor there's two roads that take off to the side. You come in, there's a crossroad of gravel roads. As you go back in there, there's little areas that you can pull off to the side, and there's little pathways out into the beach. If you go to the path on the left, you should still have good views. Well, any of them should have fairly good views to the north, because that is a north-facing beach. So that is a good place to go. Grand Traverse Lighthouse, if you use flashlights to walk out and are very careful to walk as you walk out on the beach, because it is very rocky right there, but you can get some very good pictures, and it is extremely dark up at Grand Traverse Lighthouse out on the northern beach area. But you have to use a flashlight. You have to be very careful. It is very rocky. There won't be a place to really sit down, but you will have an absolutely clear, dark sky. We should have partly clear skies all week. We should have good viewing all week. I will be up to the church, I think, by 8 o'clock tonight. Hopefully that's my goal, to be there by 8 o'clock. If you are having trouble with your learning cell phone photography, if you're having trouble learning cameras, I'm making a point to be there at the church before midnight. After midnight, I may go do my own thing, but from dark until midnight, I will be there to help whoever needs help. The church is open to whoever wants to use it, however long during the night you want to use it. Please, as you're going in, and I'm going to make this announcement, and please listen to me, come in and go directly to your left to the far parking lot. Do not go forward. Turn and go left to the parking lot behind the church. Leave. I only want to see the handicapped and the elderly in the parking lot straight in front of you. Okay? If you are able-bodied, take your car off to the side so you're not putting light pollution to the people that are photographing. Turn your lights away. Park over where you're not going to bother anybody. And there is a large area behind the church that is paved, is handicap accessible. We have a fire pit back there. We do have the ability, there's a large yard. You can take blankets, chairs, sit up back in the yard, and you'll be farther away from the car lights and farther away from all the things that can interfere with your photography. We are looking to have a good time out there and enjoy ourselves. And Father, I don't know if he's going to be in and out during this week, but hopefully he'll pay a few visits if it's really busy. And if you ask him to, he may come up and take you into the church and sing you some prayers, which is a wonderful, wonderful experience. Let me tell you. You want to spend time with Father if you get the chance. All right. I'm going to leave you with that. It should be good enough, at least Saturday and Sunday, that you should not have to drive all the way to northern Michigan. I'm going to say probably the west tonight will be better than the east. And right now I've got partly cloudy skies in Traverse City. They're just pocket little pop-up clouds. Wisconsin, you may be cloud covered tonight. Oh, let me go back here and pull up the map again. Wisconsin, Minnesota, you may get snookered tonight. This may move faster. I don't know. This system right here, I am looking to clear the smoke out. I think it's got to push to it to where it may push the smoke out of the Great Lakes area as it moves into this area. I would say shoreline of Wisconsin's your best bet. Way far north on the far part of Minnesota is your best bet. Would not look for UP to be the best bet. I think we're going to get clouded there and maybe some corners of the lower Michigan. You're kind of going to have an S pattern here. It's going to kind of be good over here and through here and maybe down by Detroit and maybe up here in the thumb. Might get, right now I've got clearing right here around the bridge in Charlevoix, or Sheboygan, but you can see right here, it is clouded over the water. That's not cloud, that's fog. Mackinac gets notoriously foggy. I would not bank on anything this time of year in Mackinac. I would avoid that area at all costs. You may get some, it's looking kind of clear. It depends on how this cloud cover. Noah was saying this right here may sink down into the UP tonight. As it moves in, this may become a problem. So you want to stay in the lower part of Michigan this trip. Okay, that's everybody's marching orders. Keep an eye on the sun. I look for it to quiet today. Don't worry, don't panic. It's just reorganizing itself, taking a breath. We know the sun does this, it breathes. It's got to catch its breath. It's been really active. It's been blowing a lot of stuff out. Give it a minute. It'll catch its breath. It's going to get that big spot into the active zone and it's going to go nuts again. So give it a day, maybe two, and it's going to start kicking again. So we may have a quieting period, maybe, but I don't think it's going to be near as quiet as what NOAA and NASA are predicting. Again, to look at our forecast for tonight, 8 o'clock to midnight, They're well, 18, from about 7 o'clock, it's going to be at a KP3 till about 9 to midnight. We're looking at a KP4. So before midnight, it's going to be a KP4. It's going to be good. Right after midnight, to the early morning hours, maybe a KP3-6. That's UTC time, so back it up 4 hours. So this is going to get good before 8 o'clock. This is going to be what's coming at us after 8 o'clock. If it stays that low, I don't look for it to do that. Then tomorrow night, dusk, it's going to be in a KP5 area, and then it's going to dissipate. I don't look for it to do that either. I think we've got enough moving out there at varying speeds that it's going to keep us elevated. And what happened today, if it's moving fast enough and if it's dense enough, it may catch up with some of this other stuff and get us spiking early. I look for this to change. This KP3, this stuff, I look when they tick this into the 24th and 25th, they're going to see some spikes coming in here. It may hit during the day. It may hit early evening, but I do look for the 25th to be another player. Again, we have the fly angle flips here. We do have some density shocks. We do have a little wind speed shock here. And we are just under 400 kilometers per second. We're in that 350 to 400 kilometer per second window right now. But we really haven't seen the big, we're still under a KP3. We haven't got the big shock wave. We aren't hitting the KP4 yet. It's moving slower than they're expecting. So the longer this holds off, the closer we're going to get to it hitting it at the right time and into the overnight hours. So everybody, let me know if you need any help. I'm going to get cleaned up, get my stuff around this afternoon, take care of a few miscellaneous chores around the house, and I will be out to the church hopefully by 8 o'clock. If Father has the church unlocked, I will probably be doing another forecast inside, or maybe doing a live forecast or live inside the church before dark. And you can come in and find me if you need help. All right. I'm going to call it good there. I think I've said everything.